The twin suns burned above the alien sky, turning the crowded marketplace into a restless sea of colors and voices. Strange banners waved in the hot wind. Creatures of many shapes and species moved between stalls, trading metal parts, glowing fruits, and jars of strange liquids. The air was thick with smoke from cooking fires and the sharp smell of alien spices. But in the middle of this busy market, one figure did not belong. A woman with pale silver skin and tired golden eyes walked slowly, her head bowed. Her clothes were torn, her feet bare, and her arms thin from hunger. She was an alien woman, but unlike the proud traders and shining warriors around her, she had nothing. Her back was bent, her face full of sorrow, and her voice trembled as she whispered, "Please, food, just a little." The merchants looked at her with disgust. Some laughed, some turned their faces away. One large alien, a merchant with a thick tail and red scales, sneered at her. "Get away, beggar, you shame this market." He pushed her back with his strong arm. She stumbled but tried again. Her voice cracked. "Please, I only need a little. My stomach, I have not eaten for 2 days." The merchant's lips curled. He grabbed a rotten fruit from his stall, squeezed it in his claw, and then threw it into the mud at her feet. "Here, eat like the filthy animal you are." The crowd roared with cruel laughter. The woman knelt down slowly, her knees sinking into the wet dirt. She reached for the fruit, her hands shaking. Before she could take it, the merchant's heavy boot came down. He crushed the fruit into the mud. The juice mixed with soil, making it impossible to eat. The woman froze, her eyes wide with silent pain. The crowd laughed louder. "Look at her. So weak, so useless. Not even worth pity." Tears rose in her golden eyes, but she did not cry out. She had no strength left for anger. She simply lowered her head, her silver hair falling over her face, and whispered something only she could hear. The marketplace moved on, busy and noisy, as if her suffering was invisible. But someone was watching. At the far end of the market, in the shadows of a tall building, a man stood still. He was not like the others. His face was human, rare in this part of the galaxy. His clothes were simple but strong, made for travel. His eyes were sharp, scanning the crowd, but his gaze stopped only on her. He saw the way she was treated. He saw the way the crowd mocked her. He saw the boot grind her only hope into the mud. For a long moment, he said nothing. He just watched, silent, thoughtful, but his hands slowly clenched into fists at his sides. Back in the market, the woman tried to rise. Her legs trembled. The mud clung to her knees and hands. She slipped and fell again, her face almost touching the dirt. The laughter echoed in her ears. No one came forward. No one helped. The merchant smirked, turning away. "Let her rot," he muttered. And still the human man watched. The woman finally managed to push herself up on her elbows. Her body shook. The dirt smeared across her face and arms. She looked around the crowd with empty eyes, searching for even one kind face, but found none. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but no words came. Her strength failed again. The wind carried the dust across the square. Banners flapped. The voices of buyers and sellers grew louder, covering her weak breath. It was as if the universe itself wanted to bury her under noise and indifference. But then, the crowd fell slightly quiet. Because the human man began to move. He walked slowly, each step steady, his boots pressing into the market ground. The merchants turned their heads. Their laughter faded. Some whispered to each other, "A human? What is he doing here?" The woman did not notice him yet. She was too weak, her eyes fixed on the mud. She thought no one cared. The man came closer. His shadow fell across her broken figure. For the first time in her long, suffering day, someone stood near her. Not to harm, not to laugh, but to watch with steady, serious eyes. The merchant with the red scales frowned. "Human, this is not your concern. Step away. She is nothing." The man did not answer. His gaze stayed on the woman. The crowd leaned forward, curious. Suspense filled the air. Why was this stranger interfering? What did he want? The woman slowly raised her head. Her tired golden eyes met his. For a moment, the noise of the market seemed to vanish. He reached out his hand. The crowd gasped. The merchant growled. The woman stared at the hand, her mind full of questions. Was this real? Was this a trick? For so long, no one had shown her kindness. She trembled, uncertain, but her heart began to beat faster. The man's voice was calm, strong, but quiet. "Stand up." The woman's hand trembled as she stared at the human's outstretched palm. No one had ever done this for her before. In her world, weakness was mocked, pain was ignored, and kindness was forgotten. She wanted to believe this hand was real. She wanted to take it. But her heart whispered doubt. Why would a stranger care? Why would anyone care? The crowd around them began to whisper. Some laughed nervously. Some looked angry. The red-scaled merchant hissed through his teeth. "Don't touch her, human. She is trash. She belongs in the dirt." The human did not answer. His hand stayed firm. Waiting. Slowly, carefully, the woman lifted her shaking arm. Her fingers hovered in the air, inches away from his. Her mind screamed with fear. What if this is another trick? What if he pulls his hand away and the crowd laughs again? But the man did not move. His eyes were calm, steady, honest. At last her hand touched his. He gripped it firmly, pulling her up with surprising strength. The mud clung to her clothes, dripping as she rose. Her knees buckled, but his arm held her steady. She stood upright for the first time that day, her golden eyes wide with shock. Gasps came from the crowd. "Impossible! Why help her? Humans are fools!" The merchant snarled and slammed his claw on the stall table. "Enough! Human, you insult us by lifting this filth. Leave her or I will make you regret it." The man finally spoke, his voice low but sharp like a blade. "No one deserves to be treated like this." The marketplace fell quiet for a heartbeat. The words cut through the noise like thunder. Some of the aliens frowned, others shifted uncomfortably. None had ever dared to speak against the merchant before. The woman's chest rose and fell. For the first time in years, someone defended her. She whispered, her voice broken but full of wonder. "Why? Why are you helping me?" The man looked at her, and his expression softened. "Because you are worth more than mud." Her breath caught. She had no answer. But the merchant had one. With a roar, he leapt over his stall and landed in front of them. His heavy tail smashed against the ground, shaking the dirt. "You dare challenge me, outsider? This is my market. This is my law." The man did not flinch. He stood tall, keeping the woman behind him. His hand rested near his belt, where a metal cylinder hung. The crowd leaned closer. Some smelled a fight coming. The woman clutched the man's sleeve, whispering urgently, Don't fight him. He is powerful. He will hurt you." The man glanced at her, then back at the merchant. Power means nothing without honor. The merchant's eyes burned red. He lunged forward, claws raised. The crowd gasped. The human's hand flashed to his belt. For a second, everyone expected a weapon. But instead, he simply raised his palm, firm and unshaken. "Stop!" His voice was calm, but it carried weight. The merchant froze for only a heartbeat. Hen laughed. "You think words can stop me?" He struck. But the human moved like lightning. He stepped aside, pulling the woman with him. The merchant's claws sliced only empty air. His momentum carried him forward, stumbling into the mud where the woman had been moments before. The crowd erupted in laughter now, not at the woman, but at the mighty merchant lying face first in dirt. The woman gasped, her eyes wide. She had never seen anyone defy the merchant. She had never imagined it was possible. The man helped her back to balance. His grip was steady, protective. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head quickly, still in shock. "No, but why do you risk yourself for me?" He looked at her, his jaw tight. "Because no one else will." The merchant roared in rage, climbing to his feet, mud dripping from his scales. He pointed at them, his voice trembling with fury. "You will regret this, human. Both of you will regret this." He stormed back to his stall, his pride shattered, but his hatred burning. The crowd began to whisper again, but their voices had changed. Some looked at the human with curiosity, even respect. Others looked at the woman with surprise, as if seeing her for the first time. The woman lowered her head, afraid of their stares, but the man leaned closer and whispered, "Walk with me. Do not fear them." Her steps were slow, unsteady, but she moved beside him. The crowd parted as they walked. No one dared to block their path. The whispers followed them, but so did silence. For the woman, it felt unreal. Hours ago, she was nothing but dirt under their feet. Now she walked through the market with someone at her side, someone who stood tall, someone who made the crowd step back. But inside her, fear still lived. Fear of the merchant's promise, fear of her past, fear that this moment of kindness would fade like a dream. As they left the market square, she finally spoke, her voice trembling. You should not have helped me. He will come for you. He will come for both of us." The man glanced at her, his eyes calm. "Let him come." The woman shivered. She had no idea who this human truly was, but in her heart, for the first time in years, a tiny spark of hope began to grow. And far behind them, In the shadows of the marketplace, unseen eyes watched, cold, sharp, and full of intent. The struggle was only beginning. The dusty road stretched beyond the market, leading into narrow alleys where broken walls and flickering neon lights cast long shadows. The noise of the market faded behind them, but the alien woman's heart still raced. Every step she took beside the human felt strange, unreal, almost like she was walking inside a dream she did not deserve. Her legs were weak. She stumbled more than once, but every time, his hand steadied her. He did not let go. The warmth of his grip was something she had never known before. Not from her people, not from anyone. Finally, when they reached the edge of the market, she whispered, her voice low and uncertain, "Why? Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't even know my name." The human glanced at her, his eyes calm, steady as before. "I don't need to know your name to see you are suffering." His words struck her like a spark in the dark. For years, everyone looked at her and saw nothing, only a beggar, only filth. Yet this man saw her pain, and it mattered to him. She lowered her eyes, ashamed. "I have nothing to give you. No money, no food, no home. If you help me, you gain nothing." He stopped walking. She froze, afraid he might finally realize her worthlessness and leave her. But instead he turned to her and said quietly, "Kindness is not a trade, it is a choice." Her lips parted, but no words came. She stared at him, struggling to understand. The road ahead was quieter now. No mocking voices, no cruel laughter, only the whisper of the wind between old metal walls. The human guided her toward a small fount, and where clear water dripped from a cracked stone pipe. "Sit," he said. She obeyed, lowering herself onto the stone edge of the fountain. Her body ached. His hand rested on the strange cylinder at his belt. The mercenaries laughed when they saw it. "A human toy? You think that will save you?" Kael said nothing. The first mercenary lunged forward with a jagged blade. Lyra gasped, but before the strike landed, Kael moved. His arm blurred as he activated the cylinder. A beam of blue light shot out, forming a glowing blade of pure energy. With one swift motion, Kael parried the mercenary's attack. Sparks flew. The crowd that had followed from the market gasped from the shadows. None of them had ever seen such a weapon. Kael's eyes narrowed. "Leave now, or you will regret this." The mercenaries hesitated, but their pride was stronger than their fear. "Get him," one shouted. They attacked together, blades and blasters flashing. Kael's movements were precise, controlled. His glowing blade spun, blocking strikes, knocking weapons away. In seconds, he disarmed the first mercenary and sent him crashing to the ground. The second fired a shot, but Kael deflected it with a bright arc of energy, sending the bolt into a wall. The third stumbled back, fear rising in his eyes. Lyra watched, her heart racing. She had never seen such power. Yet it was not only Kael's strength that shook her, it was his choice. He was fighting for her. The mercenaries finally retreated, dragging their injured companion with them. "This isn't over, human," one shouted. "You'll regret standing with her." Their footsteps faded into the night. Silence returned. The blue blade flickered out as Kael deactivated his weapon. His breathing was steady, as if the fight had been nothing more than a simple task. Lyra trembled, clutching her arms. She could hardly believe what she had witnessed. You could have killed them," she whispered. Kael shook his head. "Killing is not always strength. Sometimes it is weakness." She stared at him, confused. His wabuyus. Words were unlike anything she had heard in her world. Here, power meant survival, mercy meant death, yet he had shown both strength and mercy. Together. Slowly, Lyra stepped closer. "Why risk so much for me? I am no one. I have nothing." Kael looked at her carefully, his eyes softened. "You are not no one. I saw the marks on your arms. You belong to something greater." Her eyes widened in shock. She quickly pulled her sleeves down, trying to hide the faint glowing patterns on her silver skin. They were ancient marks, symbols from a bloodline long forgotten by most. She had hidden them all her life, afraid they would bring her more pain. "How do you know these?" she asked in a trembling voice. Kael's gaze was steady. "I have studied many worlds. These are not the marks of the weak. They are the marks of a royal line, a people of wisdom and power. You are more than you believe." Lyra shook her head violently, fear and shame mixing in her chest. "No, that line is gone. My clan was destroyed, betrayed. Everyone says we were cursed. If they knew who I was, they would kill me faster." Kael's voice grew firm. "And so you hide and suffer and believe their lies." She turned away, her golden eyes filled with tears. "What else can I do? I am alone. I have nothing left." For a long moment, Kael was silent. Then he stepped closer, his voice lower, gentler. You are not alone now. Lyra froze. Her heart pounded. She slowly looked back at him, searching his face for any trace of mockery, any trick. But there was none. His eyes held only truth. The words sank deep into her, breaking through years of silence and pain. Not alone. Her throat tightened. You don't understand. If you stay with me, you will share my curse. They will hunt you too. Kale nodded. Then let them hunt. But know this, your life has value. Even if the galaxy has forgotten it, I will not. The fountain beside him. In's water dripped behind them, the sound steady, calm. Lyra's chest ached with emotions she could not name. Fear, hope, doubt, longing, all mixing together. For the first time in her life, she wanted to believe. She wanted to trust, but trust was dangerous. Trust had destroyed her clan. Trust had left her broken and alone. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Why me?" Kale's answer was simple. "Because I choose you." The words struck her harder than any weapon. Her knees felt weak. She turned her face away to hide the tears that escaped. In that moment, a bond formed, fragile, hidden, but real. Not the bond of blood or clan, but of choice. A bond built not on power, but on kindness. And far above, in the sky where the stars burned bright, hidden ships moved silently, shadows of her enemies who had not forgotten the fall of her clan. Their eyes were searching, their weapons ready. The bond had been made, but with it came danger. Greater danger than either of them yet knew. The night grew colder as Kyle and Lara walked through the empty streets of the alien city. Neon lights flickered weakly, casting broken colors across cracked walls. The silence was uneasy, full of hidden eyes and whispers. Lyra pulled her cloak tighter around her thin body, but the chill inside her heart was stronger than the cold air. She kept glancing at Kyle, the strange human who had chosen to stand beside her. His steps were calm, his face steady, but his hand always stayed close to the glowing blade at his belt. He walked like a man who expected danger at every turn. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. "A safe place," Kale answered. Lyra shook her head. "No place is safe for me. Not here, not anywhere." Kale's eyes flickered toward her. "Then we will make a place safe." His words were simple, but the strength in them made her chest tighten. She wanted to believe him, yet fear whispered in her mind. They turned a corner and froze. A squad of armored guards blocked the street. Their helmets glowed red, their weapons humming with the energy. At the center stood the red-scaled merchant from the market, his eyes burning with hatred. "There they are," he shouted, his voice echoing. "The human fool and the cursed woman. Arrest them both!" Lyra's blood ran cold. Her hands shook. "Kyle, we can't fight them. There are too many." Kyle stepped forward, placing himself between her and the guards. His voice was calm, but it carried power. "We will not go with you." The merchant's laugh was sharp and cruel. "You dare refuse me again? You dare protect her? She is nothing. She is a stain on this world." He pointed his claw at Lyra. "She belongs in the dirt where I found her." The guards raised their weapons. The sound of charging energy filled the street. Lyra grabbed Kale's arm, whispering desperately, "Run, please, save yourself. Don't die for me." Kale looked at her, and for a moment his eyes softened. Then he shook his head. "I told you, I will not leave you." Before she could answer, the merchant roared, "Fire!" Blinding beams of energy shot forward. Kale's blade ignited in a flash of blue light, cutting through the darkness. He spun the weapon in precise arcs, deflecting bolts back into the walls. Sparks exploded, filling the air with smoke and fire. The guards pressed forward, but Kale moved with speed that seemed impossible. He blocked strike after strike, his blade glowing like a shield of light. With a sudden motion, he disarmed one guard, then spun and sent another crashing to the ground. But there were too many. Lyra's heart pounded as she crouched behind him, fear choking her throat. She felt useless, powerless. All her life she had been called weak, cursed, worthless. And now, even with Kyle protecting her, those voices echoed inside her head. Yet something else stirred inside her, a memory. The marks on her skin, the symbols Kale had recognized, the power of her bloodline. Her eyes burned with golden light. One of the guards slipped past Kale, his weapon raised toward her. Lyra screamed, not in fear, but in defiance. The marks on her arms flared, glowing brighter than ever. A pulse of energy exploded from her body, throwing the guard backward into the wall. Kale glanced at her, surprise flashing in his eyes, but he said nothing. He simply fought harder, his blade moving faster, defending both himself and her. The merchant's smile twisted into a snarl. "So it's true. You still carry the curse of your people. No matter. I will end you here." He lunged forward with a weapon of his own, a long staff that crackled with red lightning. Kale met him head-on. Blue light clashed with red. The sound of their weapons echoed like thunder in the narrow street. Sparks showered the ground as they fought, each strike shaking the air. Lyra watched, her heart torn between fear and awe. Kale fought not just with skill, but with purpose. Every move was to shield her, to protect her. He was willing to face the merchant's wrath for her sake. But the merchant was strong. His staff struck Kale's side, burning his armor. Kale stumbled, pain flashing across his face. "No!" Lyra cried. Without thinking, she raised her hands. The marks on her skin blazed with golden fire. A wave of energy burst outward, slamming into the merchant. He staggered back, his staff crackling, his eyes wide with shock. The guards faltered, fear spreading through them. None had expected the worthless beggar to wield such power. Kale recovered quickly, his blade glowing bright. He pointed it at the merchant's throat. "Leave! Now!" For a moment, silence ruled the street. The merchant's chest heaved, his rage barely contained, but the fear in his guard's eyes made him hesitate. With a final hiss, he signaled them to retreat. "This isn't finished," the merchant spat. His voice shook with fury. "You think you can protect her? You cannot. Her bloodline is doomed, and you will die with her." They vanished into the shadows, leaving only the sound of dripping. Water and burning sparks. Lyra fell to her knees, her body shaking from the energy she had released. She looked at Kale, her voice weak. I didn't mean to. I couldn't control it." Kale knelt beside her, his hand steady on her shoulder. "Don't be afraid of your strength. It saved us." Her eyes filled with tears. "But it also makes me a target. They will never stop hunting me." Kale's voice was calm, unshakable. "Then let them come. We will face them together." The bond between them grew stronger, forged not only by kindness but now by battle and shared danger. But in the shadows above, unseen watchers reported everything to greater powers. The fight was far from over. The rising conflict had only begun. The city lay quiet after the battle, but the silence felt fragile, like glass ready to break. Smoke drifted in the air from the guards' weapons. The streets were empty now, yet Lyra's heart raced as if the fight still raged. She sat against a cracked wall, trembling, her golden eyes glowing faintly. Her arms still burned where the strange marks had lit up. She stared at them in fear. "What have I done?" she whispered. Kyle crouched beside her. His armor was scorched, his side bruised where the merchant's staff had struck him. Yet his face was calm. He looked at her with steady eyes, not with fear. "You used your gift," he said quietly. Lyra shook her head violently. No, it is not a gift. It is a curse. Everyone says so. My people, my clan, they were destroyed because of it." Kale studied her for a moment, then spoke in a firm, patient voice. "Tell me." Her throat tightened. For years she had buried her past, hiding it under silence and shame. But Kale's presence, his calm strength, broke down the walls she had built. She closed her eyes and began to speak. "Long ago, my clan was known as the Radiance. We carried the power of light within our blood. His marks." She lifted her arm, the symbols glowing faintly, "were proof of our line. We were protectors once. We guided other races, helped them heal, helped them grow." Her voice cracked. "But power brings envy. Other clans wanted it. They feared us, said our light was dangerous. They spread lies calling us cursed, and one day they attacked. My family was betrayed from within. Our citadel burned. I was only a child when I ran into the night. Since then, I have been hunted, hated, mocked. I survived by hiding my marks, by pretending to be nothing." Her hands trembled as she pressed them against her face. "And now you see. It is true. I am cursed. Everyone I stay with suffers. My clan is gone because of me." For a long moment, Kale said nothing. The only sound was the wind blowing through the broken streets. Lyra feared he would turn away now, like everyone else. She feared he would see her as cursed too. But then his voice came, calm and strong. "You are not cursed. You are chosen." Her head snapped up, her eyes wide. "Chosen? How can you say that? My people are dead." Kale leaned closer, his gaze unshaken. "Because I have seen many worlds. I have studied many bloodlines. The power you carry is not a curse, it is life itself. The ones who feared it destroyed your clan, not because it was cursed, but because it was pure. They feared your light would show their darkness. That is the truth." Lyra's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, but doubt clawed at her heart. "If that is true, why me? Why did I survive when all others died? Kale's expression softened. Perhaps because the galaxy still needs you. The words struck her like a storm. She had carried shame all her life, but now he spoke as if her survival was not an accident. It was destiny. Tears filled her golden eyes. You speak as if I matter, but I am broken. I am weak. You saw me in the mud. You saw how low I had fallen. Kale's voice grew firmer. I saw you stand again. I saw you fight. Weakness is not in falling. It is in refusing to rise. And you, Lyra, have risen. And her breath caught. The truth in his words burned through the chains of doubt in her heart. For the first time, she wondered if she had believed lies for too long. But hope was dangerous. Before she could speak, Kale's head turned sharply. His eyes scanned the shadows. We are not alone. Lyra froze. From the rooftops, silent figures appeared, cloaked watchers with glowing red eyes. They moved with precision, their weapons aimed downward. They found me, she whispered. Her heart pounded in terror. Kale stood, his blade ready, his jaw tightened. Not just you, us. The cloaked figures did not attack immediately. Instead, one of them stepped forward, lowering his hood. His face was pale, his voice cold. Lyra of the Radiant line. You survived longer than expected, but your blood ends tonight. Lyra's body shook. Hearing her true name spoken aloud after so many years felt like a knife twisting in her chest. She wanted to run, to hide, to vanish, but Kale's presence anchored her. He stepped forward, his voice cutting like steel. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The leader smirked. So be it, human. You will die for a cause that is not yours. Kale's blade ignited, the blue glow shining bright in the dark street. Lyra felt the heat of its light on her skin. Her marks responded, glowing brighter, as if the bond between them fed her strength. Fear and hope collided inside her. For the first time, she was no longer just running, no longer hiding. The truth was clear now. She was the last Radiant. Her bloodline was not gone. She was still alive. And Kale had chosen to stand with her. Her whisper was soft but fierce. Then let them come. The Watchers raised their weapons. The night was about to explode. And in that moment, Lyra's curse turned into revelation. Her survival was not weakness. It was purpose. The night air shook with tension. The ached Watchers stood like shadows on the rooftops, their red eyes glowing. Energy rifles hummed, their barrels aimed down at Kale and Lyra. The street, broken and forgotten, had become a stage where fate itself would decide whether hope lived or died. Kale's blade lit the darkness with blue fire. His stance was steady, unshaken, though he faced a dozen enemies. Beside him, Lyra trembled, but the marks on her silver skin glowed brighter with each breath. She no longer hid them. She no longer tried to be invisible. The power of her clan pulsed inside her, alive again. The leader of the Watchers stepped forward, his voice cutting the silence. Lyra, of the Radiant line, you should have died with the rest of your cursed kin. The galaxy has no place for your kind. Lyra flinched at his words, but Kale's voice came like iron. She is not cursed. She is the last light you fear, and she will not fall. The leader's lip curled into a cruel smile. Then you will both fall together. He raised his hand. Fire! Bolts of red energy rained from the rooftops. The street exploded with sparks and smoke. Kale moved instantly, his blade spinning in arcs of light. Each strike deflected a bolt, but there were too many. The ground cracked, walls shattered, dust filled the air. Stay close! Kyle shouted. Lyra pressed against him, her heart pounding. She raised her hands, the golden fire of her marks bursting outward. A dome of light flared around them, shielding them from the worst of the storm. Beams of energy struck the shield, sending ripples through the air. Her body shook with the effort, sweat beading on her skin. I can't hold it, she cried. Yes, you can, Kale said firmly, his voice steady even as chaos raged. You are stronger than you believe. Trust it. Trust yourself. His words cut through her fear. Her trembling slowed. She pressed her hands harder into the light, and the shield grew brighter, stronger. The Watchers above stumbled, their rifles overheating from the reflected force. Kale struck back, leaping forward with a burst of speed. His blade slashed through one rooftop, sending enemies scattering. Sparks lit the night as he fought like a storm of light against Shadow. But for every foe he struck down, more appeared. The Watchers were endless. Lyra's shield wavered. Her strength began to fade. The leader dropped from the roof, landing with a heavy thud. His staff crackled with red lightning, humming with ancient power. His eyes locked on Lyra. You cannot escape your fate, he growled. The Radiant line ends tonight. Lyra's breath caught. Her knees weakened. She wanted to run, but Kale's voice rang out. Don't look away. Face him. The leader lunged, his staff swinging down. At the last moment, Kale intercepted, his blue blade crashing against the red lightning. The clash lit the street like a second sunrise. Sparks showered around them as Kale held firm. "Run, Lyra!" the leader shouted mockingly. "Hide like you always do!" But Lyra's heart burned. Not with fear, but with defiance. She stepped forward, her marks blazing gold. "No, I will not run." The leader sneered. "Then die." He shoved Kale back with a surge of energy and swung toward her. Instinct took over. Lyra raised her hands, and a beam of golden light erupted from her palms, striking the staff. The clash sent shockwaves through the street, throwing dust and rubble into the air. The watchers staggered, shielding their eyes. Kale grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her back as the leader growled in frustration. "You cannot fight what you are," the leader hissed. "Your light will burn this galaxy, and when it does, I will be there to watch it die." Kale pulled Lyra behind him, his blade ready once more. His voice was low but unshakable. "If the galaxy fears her light, then it does not deserve to rule her. She will rise again, and I will stand with her." Lyra's chest ached with emotion. For so long she had been alone, but no. In this moment of fire and chaos, she was not alone. She had someone who saw her not as cursed, but as chosen. The leader's eyes narrowed. "Then you are both fools!" And he raised his staff high, lightning crackling into the sky. The air trembled. The rooftops shook. Kale braced himself. Lyra raised her hands. The two powers, blue and gold, united against the red storm about to fall upon them. The street vanished in a blinding flash of light. When the dust cleared, Kyle and Lyra still stood, breathing heavily, their bond unbroken. The leader, scorched but alive, staggered back into the shadows. His voice echoed as he fled. "This is not the end. This is only the beginning." Silence returned. The watchers were gone. The city lay broken. Lyra collapsed to her knees, exhausted, her marks fading to a faint glow. Kyle knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said softly. Tears filled her golden eyes. "No, we did it." For a moment there was peace. But above them, in the endless sky, hidden warships moved in formation. Their engines hummed with power. Their commanders watched the battle from afar, their eyes cold, their voices sharp. "The Radiant has awakened," one said. "Then the hunt begins," another replied. The stars themselves seemed to darken. The true war had only just begun.